keeping well. I'm going to where we got today. Got Jai Shri and Pramod Prabhu, Bhagavati Mataji, Hema Mataji, Bhavana Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, Puja Mataji, Mayank Prabhu. So welcome all of you. Hope you're all doing well. So we'll continue with our Nectar devotion series today. I hope you're all keeping up and still finding it beneficial to your spiritual life. So we'll start off with our invocation. Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Mitakarino Tribhuvani Manya Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vindavajana Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing, studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Shri Sat Goswami Astaka by Srinivasacharya. Verse 2. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadishatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I hope all of you got the opportunity to write your Vyasa Puja offering and submit it to Srila Prabhupada for his Vyasa Puja book. So dear devotees, we carry on today with our Nectar of Devotion. We reached all the way to chapter number 7. Now, who would like to put where we are in context? in terms of what we're studying. And you can put it in your own words, but who would like to do that? Put it in the context where we are in our study, in our reading, in our discussing. Any volunteers?
We just did up to devotional, importance of spiritual master. And now we were going to discuss about Lord Buddha.
Okay. And where is that in the bigger picture of what we're discussing in Nectar Devotion, Bhagavati Mataji?
It's in discussion of whom to follow and how we say that, is he considered a devotee or a Lord, or even though he's incarnation of Lord Krishna. So that's how we'll come into that context when we are talking about spiritual master and how to, how to follow the spiritual master, how to take instructions of spiritual and with full faith.
Okay, and I want you to go a little wider in the bigger picture now. So imagine you're in an helicopter. You just were describing something. Now the helicopter is going higher and higher and higher. So where are we in the Nectar of Devotion? Which part are we discussing?
The important
science of devotion.
They are all in the importance of the spiritual master now.
Yeah, but go higher now. Where does that feature in?
Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and going through the 64 gunas of the devotional service.
The Prabhupada explained the devotional principles, and now we are going through the evidence that he provides of the devotion.
Yes. So all three of you all have all put it together. We're discussing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, the 64 items that constitute Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. We gave a quick list of it, and then we says that Srila Rupa Goswami is going to not give evidence, because in Vedic science, evidence is most important. And there are different types of evidence. And what is considered to be the most important? The word for evidence in Sanskrit is what? What's the Sanskrit term for evidence?
I'm going to say Shastra.
No, it's pramana. Pramana means evidence. And we said there are different types of pramana. There's the evidence by Guru, provided by Guru. There's the evidence provided by sadhus. And then there's the evidence provided in
Shastras.
And out of the three, what is universally accepted as the most important pramana?
Shastras.
Yes, the evidence from the Shastras. The Guru will always quote the Shastras. The sadhus will always quote the Shastras. Yeah. There can be no argument about the Shastras. So Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining the science of bhakti. And this is very important for us because we are also not only sadhakas, practitioners, but we also, the word preaching is not actually the right phrase. The phrase is prachar. We give out Krishna consciousness. So when we give Krishna consciousness, we also need to present evidence. Or people may challenge us to present evidence for our practices. So from that context, not only for our own faith and conviction, but also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is a movement to spread Krishna consciousness. We should be able to provide evidence if we are asked. So that's very important. And we started off by saying that of the 64, what are the first 10? What are they called? Positive injunctions.
Positive injunctions?
Positive injunctions, yes. So we were studying the positive injunctions, and we discussed the first one, which is Guru Padashrayo, take shelter of the spiritual master. Then the second one was Sri Krishna Diksha Dishikshanam, take Diksha and Shiksha from the spiritual master. And we were discussing some commentary. Then Vishrambena Guru Seva. We need to serve the Guru with inherent confidence. And we quoted some evidence. Then we came to the fourth one, which was Sadhu Varmanu Vartanam, following in the path of the sadhus, the all auspicious path of the sadhus. Yes. And what did you say? You said something important. Bhagavati Mataji, what were you saying?
No, I just says following the acharyas. That's what I said. You said so. That's fine.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Then we moved on. There's lots of evidence. Then the fifth one was we should inquire about the bona fide, and we should inquire, have a mindset to inquire. And I said we should always have questions. So I got that. And then we moved on to the sixth one, Krishna Arte Bhogadi Tyago. Anyone remember what that means? It's there on the screen. Sorry, I'm just
to give up the material desire.
Connection is unstable. Sorry. Yes.
Give up the material
Giving up
desire.
material desire. Yes, giving up sense enjoyment, giving up the desire for sense enjoyment. And we discussed the importance of that in spiritual life. Very important. Now we moved on then to number 7. Dwarakadhi Nivasho Yataskande. Residence in Dwaraka. And we said anyone who resides a year, 6 months, 1 month, or half a month, what happens? They attain a 4-armed form. And now, where was it? We were stopped last week. I just want to get this context because we
stopped at number 4.
Number 4.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just see. Is that where we stopped? I thought we got to the point where we were talking about. Sorry, just bear with me. Getting a little lost here. Oh, yes. Oh, we said when we were following in the footsteps of
Acharya San.
Yes. And then we got to this verse, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatrika Vidhim Vina Ahantiki Hari Bhakti Utpatayavya Kalpate. Where it is said that any devotional service, any activities that are performed with disregard to the scriptures, they are simply considered a disturbance. And we were saying how there are many people, they proclaim to have great attachment to the Lord, but they do not give much time and credence to the scriptures, and especially the Vedic scriptures. And we were talking about the Buddhists. And I want to read from Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, if you have your books in front of you, page number 61. Where Prabhupada talks about, in regard to this principle, he talks about the Buddhists, why we consider them to be atheists. Prabhupada writes, in this connection, an objection may be raised by those who are not in devotional service and who do not care for the revealed scriptures. An example of this is seen in Buddhist philosophy. Lord Buddha appeared in a high-grade Kshatriya in the family of a high-grade Kshatriya king. But his philosophy was not in accord with the Vedic conclusions, and therefore he was rejected. Under the patronage of a Hindu king, Maharaj Ashoka, the Buddhist religion was spread all over India and the adjoining countries. However, after the appearance of the great stalwart teacher Shankaracharya, this Buddhism was driven out beyond the borders of India. Buddhists or other religionists who do not care for revealed scriptures sometimes say that there are many devotees of Lord Buddha who show devotional service to Lord Buddha and who therefore should be considered devotees. In answer to this argument, Rupa Goswami says the follower of Buddha cannot be accepted as devotees. Although Lord Buddha is accepted as an incarnation of Krishna, the followers of such incarnations are not very advanced in their knowledge of the Vedas. To study the Vedas means to come to the conclusion of the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, any religious principles which denies the supremacy of the Personality of Godhead is not accepted and is called atheism. Atheism means defying the authority of the Vedas and decrying the great acharyas to teach Vedic scriptures for the benefit of people in general. So Kishore Prabhu, having just heard that, right, why do we consider the Buddhists atheist? And why is it if we see a very, very devoted Buddhist, like we may see the Dalai Lama, who is the head of the Buddhists, we would not consider him to be practicing pure devotional service. And he's outside bhakti. Why do we say that? Just having read that, Kishore Prabhu, can you say in your own words?
What I feel is, okay, Buddha was still considered as incarnation of Krishna, but the purpose for which he came in, and he was considering and he was propagating that there is no God outside. You need to look inside and practice yourself as Aham Brahma. So even if Dalai Lama, he is a godly person and saintly person, not godly, but saintly person, but still, he's still looking inside. He's not surrendering himself fully to Krishna and not recognizing that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even if he has pious motive of everything, but still he's lacking in the purpose for which we are here, and what we are studying now is recognizing the importance and understanding that we need to go to a spiritual master who would guide us to the right path and show us who is Krishna.
Yes, that's true. And just as importantly to what you just said, is because Lord Buddha, he did not recognize the Vedas. He discarded the Vedas. Right? And anyone purporting to claim to be a devotee or practicing pure devotional service has to accept the Vedic literature. One cannot say one is practicing pure devotional service and at the same time say that we do not accept the Vedic literature. It's a contradiction. So therefore, the Buddhists are not accepted as pure devotees. In fact, surprisingly, the other day, one of the reasons that Lord Buddha decried the Vedas is because people were using the Vedas to propagate the eating of meat. So he preached the philosophy of ahimsa and he decried the Vedas. I read the other day, surprisingly, that the Dalai Lama occasionally also eats meat, which was a huge surprise for me. You know, even the basic tenet of Buddhism seems to have been warped. So this is the reason, and Prabhupada and Jiva Goswami and Srila has quoted this verse, Shruti Smriti Puranadi. So we must know this verse and follow it. Anyone got any comments on that particular point? Obviously, we won't disrespect them. the Buddhist, because
I'm a bit lost with the aim of number 4. I thought it was only to do with the follow the footsteps of the sadhus and the gurus, but you're saying something more than that, isn't it, in verse 4 or Angafora?
yes, yes. Now, number 4, we said number 4 previously. The principle of number 4 is following in the footsteps of saintly persons.
Yes.
So the next question will rise: who is a saintly person? Who is a saintly person? So this is the context why this particular point is being made.
Okay.
No one can be considered to be a saintly person, just like the Buddhists.
Okay.
No one can be considered to be a saintly person unless they are a follower of the Vedas, the Vedic literatures. And by that we mean Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi. So that's the context, the link between two points, Mataji. Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah, understood now. Yes.
Yes. So that's the essential point Srila Rupa Goswami is making.
Okay.
Yeah. So what else is Jiva Goswami says? Okay, I think we've covered it. So moving on. The next item, number 5. Inquiring about eternal religious principles. Sadharma Pricha Yata Naradhiya. And in that regard, what is quoted? The Naradhiya Purana, where it is said there, individuals who have a mindset dedicated to understanding true Dharma quickly realize the fulfillment of all their cherished desires. Importance here is we should have this desire, the sense of inquiry, to know what is the true Dharma. And Srimad Bhagavatam talks about Dharma, and then it talks about the highest Dharma. And what does Srimad Bhagavatam state to be the highest Dharma? And Srila Jiva Goswami also makes this point. What is the highest Dharma?
Spontaneous love for Krishna.
Yes, devotional service, Parodharma. The Parodharma is devotional service. Savai Pumsa Parodharma, Dharma. Yato Bhakti Adakshaje. So we should inquire, and this is the reason the Vaishnavacharyas have given us so many books about what is the true Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada said, according to our tradition, the essential books are Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion. That if one studies these books, one will understand the true Dharma. And this verse that is quoted from the Naradiya Purana, it says, what is the result of someone who has this mindset? The fulfillment of all the cherished desires are attained. Desires by this, in this sense, means the desire of the soul. The desire of the soul. Any questions on that? Can we move on? So the next principle, the next anga, ulam number 6 is Krishnarthi Bhogadi Tyago Yata Padme, meaning now giving up sense enjoyment, etc. for Krishna's pleasure. He's going to quote Yata Padme, the Padma Purana. And that the verse is quoted there is, you have given up all sense enjoyment at the correct time in life in order to please Hari. And therefore, the non-transient prosperity situated in Vishnu Loka awaits you. So one who has this mentality that I am prepared to give up all sense gratification, all sense enjoyment for Krishna's pleasure, then for that person, the doors of Vaikuntha are open. Now, someone may ask the question, by us giving up sense enjoyment, we are depriving ourselves. How is it that Krishna can feel pleasure by us giving up sense enjoyment or having the consciousness of giving up sense enjoyment? Who would like to say? How is it that this could give Krishna pleasure? Like some people will say, where did God ever say we should give up this, should give up that? That is just made up. That is just self-torture, which all-loving God would want to see us depriving ourselves. Sometimes people argue like that. Have any of you heard anyone argue like that?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
I've heard quite a few people argue like that. Where did God say like that? Why should we deprive ourselves? You know, you're just making yourself miserable for no reason. So let me see what I can ask. If Bhavana Mataji, if someone challenges you like that, how would you respond? Am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, Prabhuji, how will I?
It's okay. It's all right, Mataji. Don't feel pressure or tense because of that. Would anyone like to share their argument, what they would say?
I think what they are meaning is saying that give up sense enjoyment for the material aspects, but not for the spiritual aspects, and use all the senses into the service of the Krishna. It is lotus feet.
Okay, that's a nice answer. Anyone like to just add to that or give another perspective?
So Krishna is our father, and he wants to reclaim us and take us back. So he gets pleasure when we focus on him and our spiritual journey rather than being distracted with material enjoyment.
Yes. That's a very nice answer. Krishna doesn't want us to suffer. I quoted the verse the other day. Let me get it for you. This verse the other day in the chat class I quoted, and I want to read it to you all again. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 5, text number 22. Krishna says, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So just like Emma Mataji was giving the analogy of a parent. A parent, like sometimes someone may think, you know, something is good for themselves, but the parent knows that this is not really good for them. It'll only land up in a misery. Prabhupada, you must have been listening to classes. Prabhupada tells the story of two children. One child was very sick, and to get better, the child needed to fast. So the mother was making parathas, but not giving that child. The second child felt very sorry that this other brother was being deprived of parathas. So he took a paratha and he gave it to the child, and the child got more sick. And the mother chastised him because the mother knew what is better. So Krishna knows that sense gratification is never good for us. It never leads to any lasting pleasure. It is simply temporary. So Krishna will not, Krishna becomes happy. Krishna becomes pleased when the person shows lack of desire for sense pleasure. Are you seeing my WhatsApp screen now, by the anyway? I don't know. What are you seeing on my screen? Are you seeing the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, Prabhuji. PPT.
Yes, we were. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Divyanam is chasing me about something. I had to look. All right. So that's the reason. It's not that Krishna wants us to see suffering. It's that Krishna has the higher perspective of what real enjoyment and what real pleasure is. Therefore, Krishna feels pleasure. He feels pleasure to see us now coming to our senses. He feels pleasure to see us now moving towards lasting pleasure and not temporary pleasure. And therefore, it is pleasing to Krishna. Does that make sense? Bhavana Mataji, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, just a question, like on the previous one, like there was a mention that if you leave it in the correct time, so what do you, like what is meant by like if you leave things in the correct time in, I think was in 6?
Yeah, this one.
Yes.
You have given up all sense enjoyment at the correct time.
Yeah.
So that's what you're asking.
That's right. Like, so like, what is the correct time?
All right. Okay. So what is meant by this by our acharyas? There are different stages of life, the vanas and the ashramas. In the brahmachari ashram, sense gratification is forbidden. In the grihastha ashram, some sense gratification is allowed. In the vanaprastha ashram, then it's decreased again. And then in the sannyas ashram is completely given up. So the level of renunciation is also sometimes dependent on the ashram one is in. So ultimately, the Vedic civilization is based on the principle that even a householder, even if he physically does not give up his family, his mood of renunciation, of giving up sense enjoyment, needs to progress with time. It's not that, one comes to 60, 65 years old and one is still trying to, what happened with Ajamil, to have children and, get all entangled with grandchildren and so on. So that's what the meaning of correct timing is. Does that make sense to you, Mayank Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Like in current world, like obviously, like these things were given for the Vedic for a very old times. Like in current world, like those 4 things which you mentioned, like grihastha and like one ashram and 2 more, like those things are not actually followed in the same way how it used to be followed, or what we have heard about. So like, are you saying that like at the age, like when you grow, like you should start leaving things or
No. Let me. It's a good question you raise. Like in the scripture, they said in Kali Yuga, sannyas is forbidden. It's the principle here. And the principle here, Mayank Prabhu, is that as one gets more mature in life, one should be experiencing more and more a sense of detachment, renunciation, detached from sense gratification. So we may not be carrying a danda. We may not, as a householder, be using saffron clothing. But internally, our mood should have become much more renounced. Renounced in the sense of detachment from the body, detachment from the family in the sense that one does not become indifferent to them. But there's this inner sense of detachment, knowing that this is just a temporary relationship. In many lives, I had different families. And this bodily relationships I have, it's based on the body, it has to end. Just like you and me, my young Prabhu, you know, we will die soon. I mean, maybe 50 years or before that, we'll leave this body. And when the body ends, all material relationships end. So it's a stage of, it's having this consciousness of really understanding, you know, the flickering nature of this material world, this material body, and of sense gratification. Even though externally we may not be following the Van ashram, like the Vanaprastha or the Sannyas ashram, but internally, you know, our mood can be the same. But that is the point. That is the point.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
it's a bit of a silly question, but when we are as a family, being in the grahastha status, then we have to live with them, we have to laugh with them, we have to sort of go out with them, enjoy with them, but internally we should be renounced and saying that this is all temporary. Is that correct understanding?
Yes, Puja Mataji. The devotional service does not stop us from laughing with the family. The devotional service does not stop us from feeling some anxiety or some compassion if someone is sick. Devotional service does not mean that we do not want to offer them prasadam and things like that. But a devotee understands that his only true relationship, permanent relationship, is with Krishna and Krishna's devotees. One should have this inner sense of reality and perspective. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I read the other day, he said there are only two realities in this world. There are only two realities in this world. And guess what he said, the only two realities?
Is one of them death?
No, that is a fact. But you know, in Vedic literature, the distinction is being drawn against what is real and what is an illusion. You will read in Vedic literature, what is real and what is illusion. Anything that is temporary, anything that has no permanent existence, that is considered an illusion. Just like sometimes we go see a magician, and the magician will like suddenly manifest a cow or do something. But that's just like a trick. It has no real reality. It's temporary. So in the Vedic tradition, reality means something that is permanent. Something that is permanent. Just like, let me take my example, right? For me, I took birth 1966. Now I'm 54 years old, and in a few years' time, I'll be gone. 200 years from now, practically speaking, there will be probably no one in this world that ever can remember Vrindavan Chandra Das. Any semblance of my existence will be gone, completely gone. You know, photographs or anything will be gone. So this body, this existence is just so temporary. There's no reality. No reality. Even this material world, in the scale of cosmic time, in the scale of creation and manifestation. He doesn't have a reality because he's just temporary. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there's only two realities in this world. One is the jiva. This is the soul, us, the eternal Atma. And second is the holy name. Even if we think of our temple, Bhaktivedanta Manor, in 100,000 years from now, or at the end at least of this current kalpa, the temple won't be there. Nothing in this material world has got a reality. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there's only two realities in this world, the jiva and the holy name. So as devotees, we should have and understand this very clearly. And we should never get swept away by the temporary nature of the material world, of the temporary body. And it's important for one who is on the path of bhakti to be situated in this consciousness. At least at in a superficial level. And as we age and we mature, it should become deeper and deeper and deeper. The only permanent relationship we have is with Krishna. Is with Krishna and his devotees, because we will meet his devotees in the spiritual world again. You agree? Everyone agrees?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
But
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, if we consider our family as devotees,
Yes.
then our relationship with them would continue, wouldn't it?
It may be in a different guise, but certainly you will meet Sailesh Prabhu again in the spiritual world. And,
Oh no, oh no.
and
Oh, no.
we will meet, all of us today, at some point in time. Bhagavati Mataji, Mayank Prabhu, Puja Mataji, Bhavana Mataji, Jayashri Mataji, Krishna Prabhu, Suparna Mataji. We'll meet up again, maybe in a different guise. But if we continue our spiritual life, we'll meet Srila Prabhupada, we'll meet our spiritual master, we'll meet each other. Because that is, the soul is eternal, the spiritual world is eternal.
Prabhuji, it reminds me of the soul arriving in Golok Vrindavan, and he's looking around and looking at all these devotees that, oh, they look familiar, but he's wondering, why are they here? Because for him, he was judging them that they've done things like this, they shouldn't be here. And all the devotees are looking at him and they're saying, why are they looking at me? And the person says, because they are surprised that you are here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but yes. So in that sense, we understand that the Vaishnavas, they never die. They're living in sound, and we'll meet. But other relationships, based on the body, they are temporary, very, very temporary. And we should think like that, having that sort of consciousness. This is like the essence of what Srila Rupa Goswami is saying in this verse. Krishnate bhogadityago. That we know what is reality, what is real enjoyment, what is temporary. That is important.
Can I say something, Prabhuji?
Uh-huh.
I think sometimes when we get some bad experience with the family or other people, then we start thinking that, yeah, what is the value of this relationship? But when we are in a good relationship, we realize that this is all temporary, but sometimes we find it hard to give it up when we are in a sort of happy, good relationship, unless something bad happens to that relationship.
That's true. So what we should do, it's natural for us to have some sense of attachment. It is just that we have to get the balance right. We have to really see that relationship in perspective. We've got to see that person in perspective. And I don't know, this is my own personal way of how I live. I feel that the Krishna consciousness philosophy gives us a beautiful balance about how we see others and other relationships, you know. If it's seen on the basis of the soul and there being eternal. But you're right, Puja Mataji, when the relationship is good, we can get swayed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And we need to bring ourselves back to reality.
Mm.
All right, moving on to limb number 7. This is Dwarkadi Nirvaso Yataskande. And the injunction is now live in Dwaraka, etc. And etc. means our Vaishnavacharyas have clarified what etc. means. You know, etc. means Adi. Adi means etc. It means Purushottam, Dharma, Kurukshetra, all of the holy dhams, all of the holy dhams. And the evidence is from the Skanda Purana, where he said all men and women who live in Dwaraka for a year, 6 months, 1 month, or half a month obtain a 4-handed form. So this is amazing, isn't it? You know, many of us have traveled to the Holy Dham. Some devotees have lived there for months, some for weeks, and some for days. So what it means is you get a 4-armed form. It means that one starts to manifest one's eternal spiritual nature when one comes in contact with the Holy Dham. That is the essence of what it's saying. And it is said all of the residents of the Holy Dham, Navadvip Dham, and Purushottam Dham, and Vrindavan Dham, he said all of the inhabitants of those places, they have 4-armed. Meaning also, in another sense, they are living in the spiritual world. They are living in the spiritual world. I remember ages ago when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness, you know, there was a wonderful devotee, his name was Bhagavat Seva. And every Sunday after the program, we would talk to him. And he was telling us about how if the bees, even the bees and the birds, as they fly over the dham, they take on a spiritual form. And when he said that, I remember I was completely blown away, thinking, wow, these holy places, they must be so, so special. So Srila Rupa Goswami is quoting Praman from the Skanda Purana, which basically says the residents of the Holy Dham, they are not ordinary people. They are not ordinary people. And therefore, when we go to the Holy Dham, we should be very, very careful how we treat the residents of the Holy Dham. Meaning that they are devotees, you know. We should see them as devotees of the Lord because they are residing in the Holy Dham, and by dint of living in the Holy Dham, they take on a spiritual nature. So there's another quotation there from the Brahma Purana. How wonderful is the glory of Puri Kshetra. The gods in the sky see all residents in and around 10 yojanas, 80 miles of the city, in their 4-handed spiritual forms. So this verse from the Brahma Purana is saying the demigods, when they look down at Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, for 80 miles around Jagannath Puri, and within that area, the demigods see all of the people living there. They've got 4 hands, meaning they say in the 4-handed spiritual form. So that is quite extraordinary. to see that. That gives the power. Now the next one, so the next evidence is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there it is said, the river Ganges by which the king sat, this is referring to Maharaj Parikshit, to fast, carries the most auspicious water, which is mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord and tulsi leaves. Therefore, that water sanctifies 3 worlds inside and outside, and even sanctifies Lord Shiva and other demigods. Consequently, everyone who is destined to die must take shelter of this river. So the glories of Ganga, we'll find it in the 1st canto, 19th chapter, text number 6. And Srila Rupa Goswami is quoting this verse to again emphasize the glories of living in a holy place. Yes. Moving on to number 8. This is an interesting one. Yavad Artano Vartita. And where you'll find it, Yata Naradhiya. Accepting only what is needed in daily practical behavior, as it is stated in the Naradiya Purana. A person who knows the true goal of life, Artavit, should accept only as much money and resources as required for maintaining one's bare necessities. Anything lesser or greater than that will cause him to fall down from the path of transcendence. Now, this is a really interesting one. It says both. We should not accept less than what we need to maintain ourselves, or we should not use something greater than is required to maintain ourselves. Because if we do, what is the consequence? It will cause us to fall down from the path of transcendence. Now, someone may ask the question, in my situation, how do I know when it is too less? How do I know when it's too much? Would anyone like to answer? Maybe in your own lives, dear devotees, how do you all judge that? The principle is here, we should use only as much money and resources as required. Not too less, not too much. What's a good guiding light? Anyone in your own practical lives would like to share?
Prabhuji, I think that like whatever less you get or whatever more you get adjusted to that amount or lifestyle. Like the more you get, the more you will do expenses in so many different things. The lesser you get, you stop your desires kind of, and then kind of keep adjusted yourself within that that limit.
So you are saying, if I understand you correctly, Mayank Prabhu, you are going to get what you get,
Yeah.
right? You should just adjust your mood and your consciousness to what you have.
I think so, Prabhuji. That's what I have experienced. Like if I'm getting less, then I will adjust to that. If I'm getting more, then I'll adjust to that as well.
Okay. And you know you're not adjusting is when you start to feel uncomfortable, restless, unhappy. Is that what you're saying? If you have not adjusted, that's what you will feel.
No,
And if you've adjusted, you feel comfortable.
like I think there is no choice actually. Like obviously, like if you keep thinking about that, you are getting less or something like that, you have to adjust to keep yourself
Okay.
happy.
Yes. You're making a very important point there, Mayank Prabhu. And I think the essential point you're making is we should just be satisfied and feel satisfied with what we have. And if we're feeling a sense of dissatisfaction, a sense of restlessness, a sense of unhappiness, where it's becoming an interruption to our devotional service, then we know something is out of sync. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Very important. And it's a personal experience and realization, which is good. Anyone else likes to say?
So Prabhuji, my gauge is when I open my wardrobe and there are too many clothes in there,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking I haven't worn a lot of them over the years, then I'm thinking there is no need for any more clothes. If I'm buying more clothes, that's being greedy.
Oh, that's nice.
So I think it's that's the kind of a cutoff point. You think there is need to give away now some of your clothes and rather than buy more.
Yes. And that's a very nice space to be in it. You know, I made a pledge recently that for 1 year I would buy no new clothes. And then I felt very satisfied with that because firstly, I knew I had enough, I had sufficient to keep me warm in the winter and to keep me cool in the summer, and to go out and to not look disheveled, and to look pleasant. And there was no real need to go. And even recently, you know, I decided that, you know, the phone I got, it does everything that it needs to do. You know, adequate. Obviously, you can get better resolution photos and all, but that, for all the intents and purposes, it was good, and I was not lacking.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we need to come to that situation where, you know, and the main point is we've got to break the connection with the mind. The material mind will try to convince us of why we need something more, why we do not have enough, why we should not be satisfied. But through intelligence, strong intelligence, which comes from proper sadhana, we can say, oh, don't worry, mind, it's all good. It's all good. You know, you're not really suffering, you're not really struggling, you're not really in lack. Just be happy, just be satisfied. Anyone else likes to share?
I think I just say one thing about this pandemic. In the beginning of this pandemic, Prabhuji, it happened, you know, like people were just going into the shops, buying things they don't want it, but they were trying to keep them in the house, that we might need this, we might need that. I mean, that is hankering, you know, so we should accept only what is necessary. Or dealing with this material world, we should not hanker for this, you know, store it and then throw it in the bin afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that that's what happened in pandemic. I could see that people were frustrated that they were not getting. Some says, I can't have toilet rolls, I can't have matchboxes, I can't have this. And they were trying to store as many as they possible. So that's wrong. So you should accept what comes in your, you know, in your karma. I would say that.
Yes. You know, Prabhupada, when you read Prabhupada Lilamrita, he talks about his father. And I always like how he talks about his father. He said, my father was not a rich man, but there was always sufficient in our house. You know, in mango season, there were plenty of mangoes to eat. And food-wise, there was sufficient. And Prabhupada talks about his father, Go Mohan De. And it's really, the underlying consciousness is, you know, the situation I am in, you know, Krishna has put me in the situation. I have the inherent confidence that Krishna knows what I need. Krishna knows what is best for me. So in that respect, you know, if I am being taken care of, you know, that person knows best what is for me. And that's what surrender means. Why should I worry? You know, Krishna knows what's best. And if he felt I needed more, he would give me. And if he feels he needs to take away something, that's also for my good. So that's why this is connection, because there are people who are not devotees. Many people who are not devotees who can live according to this principle. They live simply. They're just happy with what they got. But they are not devotees. The main principle for this point is the underlying consciousness that I am surrendered to Krishna. Krishna knows what's best for me. He's given me what he's given me. I should be satisfied. And we stay well situated in devotional service. So I'll stop here because it's already 7 o'clock, actually past 7 o'clock. I'll take any questions or comments before we close. I hope I'm not going too slow. You're finding it too slow. Please feel free to. Would you prefer we go a little faster, dear devotees?
Amazing. No,
I think
it's fine.
it's okay. Nice speed, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's going into our mind. That is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Prabhuji, one question I have on the last one, which you just said.
Yeah.
So, like sometimes I also think about that, like why to do more hard work, like if we are getting enough. But if you see all the businessmen, so all the big businessmen, like if they start thinking about in the same thing that we are getting enough, like there is no need to, expand their business or something like that, like there won't be much happening in the world. Like if everyone starts thinking like that, that there is enough in my pocket, there is need to expand.
Yeah, well, the modern Western capitalism says we should increase GDP growth. GDP growth, needs to take place all the time, and only when there's growth, there is prosperity and happiness. But that's not the Vedic system. The Vedic system is that everybody has got, let them anyway, Mayank Prabhu. There are many people who do not want to follow the bhakti path. They are following materialism. They would carry on trying to increase GDP and increase growth and all of that. But as devotees, we don't need to follow the same principle because we know what is the higher purpose of life. Yeah. So let them do that. Let them do that. We'll focus on what we feel is the right path in life. And it's not going to be, if you or I don't break our backs and forget the goal of life and work crazy hours to increase the GDP, firstly, no one is going to thank us for it. And secondly, it's not going to really be for our ultimate good, is it? Yeah. And if one may argue, well, if all people and more people become devotees, then it's not good for the world. No. Krishna will provide sufficient. And Prabhupada says real wealth is really in grains, in sufficient grains, in sufficient milk, in sufficient natural produce. That is the real wealth. When there's sufficient foodstuffs to eat, people can eat abundantly. Wonderful fruit, wonderful grain, lots of milk. That's where the real wealth is. And we should not follow the people. And anyway, now with cryptocurrency, wealth is moving away from, we're gonna go to a really crazy state of what is wealth. So let's not follow them and get caught up in that.
Sure, Prabhuji. And I have one more kind of realization, like which I'm sure like most of us must have realized during COVID lockdown time, that whatever our needs before COVID, it was much reduced during COVID lockdown period. Like there was a lot of less wastage, less trips to the market, or less trips. Like there was so much less, wastage kind of things. Only necessary things you used to get.
Yes, and we were satisfied, isn't it?
Yes.
We were happy. we were content. Many devotees felt very content in COVID.
That's right.
They were not restless, you know. The devotees were very content because of their mindset. You know, Krishna, yes, it's happening because of Krishna. I have sufficient to eat. I can chant. I can read Bhagavatam. I can associate online. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. Any other comments or reflections?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, Puja Mataji.
Sometimes I get stressed that I feel that there's too much in the place that where I'm staying at the moment. Or should I think it that way, that Krishna has provided this and I should be happy with that? I sometimes feel that I want to give up so many of the things away, but then you think your family and other people will tell you that, what are you doing? Why are you throwing away and why are you giving up things? And sometimes you have to accommodate for people or guests which are coming to your house. And that is the only reason why I've got few more things than what I need actually. So it's like, yeah, sometimes things in the house really at times stress me.
Why does it stress you?
Because I feel that I live on my own.
Yes.
And I live in a 3-bedroom house.
Yes.
And each occupying their things are there in each room, in every room. Utensils, because before there were more people, but now I'm the only one. I've given up so much away. But when I see their cupboards are still full, that is what stresses me. But clothes are there, what I would say, mattresses are there, other things are there, utensils are there.
You know, as you advance in spiritual life, Mataji, as you come into the mode of goodness, you know, clutter, untidiness, you know, it is said a Brahmana means a place for everything and everything in its place. So as you advance spiritually in the mode of goodness, you know, you'll feel uncomfortable with clutter. You'll feel uncomfortable with having unnecessary things. And you know, the great Sufi poet Rumi, he had the saying, simplify, 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 you know. So maybe it's just that, you know, you're advancing and you feel, you know, you don't want to be surrounded with unnecessary things. You don't want to be surrounded by clutter. And just do what you feel it makes you peaceful. If you feel, yeah, you want to give and you want to shed more things, do it.
Yeah, which I have been doing, which I do now and again, I do. And then, and actually my day is best when I throw things away from the house, when I dispose of things. That is the best day of my life, actually. I go to the skip and I go here and I go there and dispose of the things, but I can't dispose of big furniture which is in the house.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
Hari.
we have to give up. You know, it said, you know, the soul, a lot of it is, you know, we want to be alone. We want to be quiet. We want to be free of all the encumbrance.
Definitely.
I think that's natural. I think it's natural.
Okay. Thanks for the advice.
Hare Krishna. Okay, dear devotees, if no one else has got, anyone's got anything they like to share, or shall we close?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was
Hare
just
Krishna.
reflecting on what Mayank Prabhu said about if businesses didn't continue to expand, what would happen? But the business is expanding in that way causes so much harm to the planet, in the slaughterhouses. The whole system is so damaging to us all. And there are still people who are dying of hunger in the world. So, you know, they are destroying mountains of food in one place and there are people still dying from hunger. So that system doesn't work.
It doesn't. It's just based on an artificial economy. I read the other day that Amazon, because they charge for warehouse space, they dump thousands of televisions, thousands of electronics, brand new, unused. They just dump it and crush it. Same with farmers. Tons and tons of butter and everything. They just let it rot because of the artificial economy. So we should not get bewildered by that.
Oh, it's madness.
It's complete madness.
Can I add on to that,
Yes.
Prabhu and Jai Srimataji's point, what I'm thinking, that if everybody works towards their basic minimum requirements, including businessmen and everything, then we are back to Satyug, because that time people were content with what they have and they were working only towards what they needed.
Yes, very
So
true.
that would lead us to the right yuga.
Very true. Very true. Satya Yuga is Satya Yuga because of the consciousness of the people. The consciousness dictates the direction in which we live, we trade, we relate, and so on. You know, as the consciousness becomes degraded, the more. So it is said we'll have a mini golden age within Kali Yuga. And that will come about because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna consciousness movement, changing the consciousness of the planet for 10,000 years. That's the prediction, and we all like to wait and see that. Okay, dear devotees, thank you very much. We'll end with Vaishnava pranams. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Go Premanande.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, dear
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.